Hey guys, my name is Miriam Davis, and I'm doing my criminal project over Eileen Wuornos. I decided to pick her because she's a female serial killer, and unfortunately, we do not talk about female serial killers enough. So I feel like I also decided to use her because she's very interesting. I watched a few documentaries about her, and I just fell in love because it's just awkward. Like, she's that, you'll see. Okay, and actually, before I begin, I do want to play bingo, so if you guys want to, you can. There are a couple winners and prizes, and my bingo is ghetto, so there's multiple free spaces, multiple words in different spaces. If you have a card in front of you, you'll see. But yeah. Eileen was born in Rochester, Michigan on February 29th, 1956. I found this interesting because she's a leap baby, and I be lying telling people I'm a leap baby, but really I was born on February 28th. So that's something that we kind of almost have in common. To begin with her childhood timeline, I would say that Eileen already had a rocky start when she was just a child. Her parents had her when they were just teens. She ended up having to move in with her grandparents because her mom had abandoned her and her father wasn't in her life. He wasn't in her life because he was a deadbeat, but because he actually molested a 7-year-old and ended up going to prison. Eileen did have a younger brother who eventually died from cancer in around like the 1980s. She was really close with her brother, so I would say him dying had a huge impact on the Eileen that we know. Another major impact that I would say would be her father, and I'll get into this a little later, but he ended up committing suicide in prison. As a preteen, Eileen began making her own money, and not the way that a preteen would actually make money. Or the way that me and you would make money. She actually started prostituting, and at this point, she started prostituting with anyone that was willing to pay. She didn't care. She just wanted money. So she eventually got pregnant under the age of 16, and this did not go good. Her grandmother was pretty strict, so after she gave birth, she was forced to give the baby up for adoption. And after she did that, she was still kicked out because how can a kid raise a kid? After that, Eileen then hitchhiked to Florida, and this is where she cranked up some of her like smaller crimes. They became misdemeanors, and the list just grew longer and longer. In 1990, Eileen began killing men. She'd sleep with them, kill them, and then steal their cars and their belongings. She killed all of her victims the same way, or in some sort of shooting them in their head either multiple times or in their torso areas for some of the cases. Each of Eileen's cases were solved because they found either the bodies or something of the men. Like, she was a messy criminal. Like, she left things behind. Except for when she killed Peter Sims, they only found his car and his belongings and never ever found his body. With this whole thing, Eileen was claiming self-defense for the killings of all the men, but because of it being a cycle, no one believed her. No judge, prosecutor, basically just no one believed her, and no one bought it because it just didn't make any sense. The only case that went to trial was the Richard Mallard case, in which she was found guilty of armed robbery and first-degree murder. Now to talk about the risk factors. I feel as though her behavior was gradually learned over time because of her living environment. Eileen didn't have a steady home or even a place to call home. Her environment was broken. And although living with your grandparents can be good, she didn't have anyone to tell her or to guide her right from wrong. And in the beginning, when I mentioned her father being something that impacted her into making decisions, I say this because Eileen used to say that these guys were abusing or molesting her, and I feel as though she was trying to get rid of people that was like her father because he did something like that to someone that was her age when he left out of her life. When it comes to the type of killer that Eileen is, I would say vision oriented, because if you go on YouTube and watch her videos, she would say crazy things like, oh, God is coming to get us, or God sent me. She felt like she was superior. And I will also add in mission-oriented because she said in her videos, these men reminded me of my father. And that was her motive, to get rid of men that were like him. Sociological theory is what I would classify Aline as, because she didn't have a family. She came from a broken home. She didn't have a childhood, and she was trading money for sex. I would also say hostile aggression and instrumental aggression, because she was killing people and she didn't have any type of remorse for them. To end it all, Aline was sent to Florida State Prison for execution, which she was killed by lethal injection. These are her last words on the last slide, and that's all I have. So if you won bingo, congratulations. And thank you guys for listening to my criminal project.